Hi, it's Mr. Ripka reading Neruda during Corona. Thanks for joining me. We have reached poem LXIV. Yes, 64. 64. I don't know if you remember, but I said 60 plus days ago there are 74 poems in this book, and we have reached 64. Time is coming to an end. We have 10 more of these, so let us thoroughly enjoy each of the last 10 of these Nerudian questions, because they will not last forever. And so with that, I do want to say one thing. There's this little saying in the back of the book. You know how books have sort of authors or journals or newspapers saying certain things about this book. Well, Publishers Weekly calls this book dazzling. It's a lovely word, dazzling. The Library Journal calls it cryptic and intriguing. Well, I hope these questions will bring you some cryptic and intriguing moments today and tomorrow. Let's get into it. A little Espanol. Actually, what I think I'm going to do today is I'm going to read the question in English and then read the question in Spanish. So we'll go 1, 1, 1, 1. So it'll be English, Spanish, English, Spanish. And, it'll be kind of do a little commentary on it as we go through the English and the Spanish. There are 5 questions in this one. You can see my notes too, but there are 5 questions. So let's go and begin. The first question says, why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? Oh. That's a lovely question. There are a few things here I noticed in the English translation. One is, of course, the F sound, that alliterative F, F, F. Why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? But let's not forget also, I think part of the charm of this translator's rendition of the Spanish is the L sounds that pop up in clothes, flutter, like, and flag. So you got the F and the L there. Why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? Has a nice flow. None of that is in the Spanish, by the way. That is purely the translator's job, a wonderful translation who's done that. Which, incidentally, Choice Magazine says right there, the English versions of the poems are excellent. Well, that's definitely one example of an excellent English version. In Spanish it says, so why is porque? Porque. And then mi ropa. I love that word. Ropa, your clothing, your ropa. I love that. Why do my clothes? And then it says desteñida, which means discolored. So you could see if he had translated it, why do my discolored clothes? That sounds nice too, actually. But faded clothes flutter like a flag. Obviously it has a flow. So desteñida is discolored or faded. And then we have se agita como un bandera. Why does it agitate itself? Why does it flutter, as they translate it? And then como is like una bandera, like a flag. So the Spanish is porque mi ropa desteñida se agita como un bandera. And the English is, why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? Lovely translation. All right, number 2. Am I sometimes evil, or am I always good? Wow. The Spanish says, soy un malvado alguna vez, o todas las veces soy bueno. Soy un malvado. Am I bad alguna vez? Sometime. Am I bad sometime? Oh, or todas las veces. All the times soy bueno. Am I good? So it says in Spanish once again, soy un malvado alguna vez, o todas las veces soy bueno. And of course in English, am I sometimes evil, alguna vez, sometime am I evil, am I an evil person sometimes, or todas las veces, all the times am I good. It's a curious question, right? Because what we're looking at here is not am I sometimes good and sometimes evil, which is, I think, the traditional way to think about this. Am I sometimes good or sometimes evil? Neruda is asking something different. Am I sometimes evil? once in a while do I do something evil? Or am I just always good? No evil. Everything I do is good. So I guess the first one implies actually, maybe it implies, am I sometimes evil? That actually implies, am I sometimes evil, sometimes good? Or at least it implies, am I sometimes evil, sometimes something else? Because I can't always be evil. According to the question, I'm sometimes evil. So he's asking, am I sometimes evil and sometimes something else? Or am I just flat out good? Lovely question, right? Because perhaps that's it. Perhaps we're just always good. And as Hamlet says, it's just a matter of the way you see it. All right, let's keep on going. So we had two questions. Why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? And am I sometimes evil or am I always good? It's a great question, or a good thing to think about as you're listening to Neruda. Like, what does the second question have to do with the first question? And that's something, of course, that you can come upon your own interpretation, your own understanding of that. So let's go to the third question, because the third one is probably going to help us with the second, which is somehow related to the first, because all of these are LXIV, poem 64. The third poem has an or too, like the second. The second one says, am I sometimes evil or am I always good? The third says, do we learn kindness or the mask of kindness? That's that whole philosophical appearance versus reality, going all the way back to the ancient Greeks with Plato, pre-Socratics even. Pre-Socratics, Plato, Aristotle, appearance, reality. Are we something or do we just appear some way? But here he's taking another twist, I think, into that ancient Greek concept. He's not, are we kind or do we wear a mask of kind, but is it, do we learn kindness? Over time, he seems to imply, are we learning how to be kind or are we learning how to wear a mask of kindness? That's a serious question here on poem LXIV. In Spanish it says, es que se aprende. Is it that one learns? Se aprende. La bondad, kindness, goodwill, la bondad. O, or, there's that O word. La máscara. It sounds like mascara. Máscara, the mask. De la bondad, of kindness. Do we learn kindness or the mask of kindness? Coming back up, the first question was, why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? The second question, am I sometimes evil or am I always good? The third question, do we learn kindness or the mask of kindness? We have two more questions. Thanks for staying with me for this extended edition, it seems like. Oh, this one's a good one. It says, isn't the rose bush of evil white? And aren't the flowers of goodness black? Yes, no es blanco el rosal del malvado. Y negras las flores del bien? So is it not white, the rose bush, rosal? And look, del malvado, well, that's the same question, or the same word used in question 2. Am I sometimes evil? Soy un malvado. Evil, malvado. Is it not that the rose bush of evil is white? And negras las flores, black flowers, good. I don't know if I've ever seen a black flower, but it sounds like it'd be awesome and I'd love it in my garden if I could come upon a black flower. This whole idea of whiteness being evil, it's an interesting concept that is not begun here with Neruda. I want to bring up another book and mention it kind of quickly, but talk about it and show you the profundity of this work. This is the great American novel, Moby Dick, which, if we know the subtitle, is The Great White Whale. He talks about whether the white rose bush is evil. I don't know if I've seen white rose bushes, but now it's something to think about if you see them around town. You know, as if you contemplate Nerudian questions, isn't the rose bush of evil white? I want to read a portion of Moby Dick for you so that we can not only connect literature, which is always fun, but to think about whiteness being appalling somehow and evil. This chapter is chapter 42 of the great American epic novel Moby Dick. It's called The Whiteness of the Whale. I want to read a paragraph or two. It says here, I know that to the common apprehension, this phenomenon of whiteness is not confessed to be the prime agent in exaggerating the terror of objects otherwise terrible. Nor to the unimaginative mind is there aught of terror in those appearances whose awfulness to another mind almost solely consists in this one phenomenon, especially when exhibited under any form of all approaching to muteness or universality. He is talking here essentially about, yes, it is commonly apprehended that whiteness is good, but pure whiteness is a terrifying experience, like the albatross or a pure white whale. He talks about bears, right? Grizzly bears being atrocious and terrible. But the polar bear being all white somehow is even more terrifying. It's a great work. Please look into the great, great work by Herman Melville, who explores not only whiteness, but he explores megalomania. He explores American culture. He explores almost everything one could want in a book. He explores in this great tome. A great summer read. But we are getting ahead of ourselves and beyond ourselves and getting into other works. Let us come back to poem LXIV, and let us come finally to the fifth question and the final question. It says, who assigns names and numbers to the innumerable innocent? Oh, those name givers seem to have a lot of power. To give a name seems to almost give an identity, or at least to assign it, like you're the one who's assigning the identity to that thing as you name it. And he's wondering who assigns the names and numbers to the innumerable innocent. Who are the innumerable innocent? It's tough to tell. Are these questions political? It's tough to tell. It's tough to tell what's happening. But I do want to read it in Spanish and then wrap this up. It says in Spanish, ¿Quién da los nombres y los números al inocente innumerable? It says, who gives? I know the translator said who assigns, but da means to give, from do, dare in Latin, and then of course da in Spanish. Who gives the names and numbers to the innocent? And what kind? Innumerable, the innumerable innocent. I'll let you think about who are these innumerable innocent. Perhaps we all are, and names have been given to us, and we just accepted them without thinking and questioning of what a name is and what it represents and what it means and what it leads our mind to think about. And perhaps it's a question and a sort of goading to us all to not accept the names that have been given to us without thinking thoroughly through them. And sometimes perhaps to invent our own names and give our own names to things, as Neruda seems to want to do here through these questions, is get our minds to a place where we become independent and become more of who we are as a human, an individual. So, with all that, I want to read through all 5 questions in English and then leave you. I want to thank you. I know this has been a little longer than normal. If you've stuck around, thank you. It's been quite kind of you. Here are the 5 questions for LXIV. Why do my faded clothes flutter like a flag? Am I sometimes evil, or am I always good? Do we learn kindness or the mask of kindness? Isn't the rose bush of evil white, and aren't the flowers of goodness black? Who assigns names and numbers to the innumerable innocent? Wonderful, wonderful questions for us to think about. Thanks again for joining me today for a little Ripka Reads Neruda during Corona. And I hope you can join me tomorrow for another 5 wonderful questions from Neruda's El Libro de las Preguntas.